So, as the resident Tom Brady fan, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a little bit of a shock for me when I saw that he finally retired. You've been calling this for a few days, a few months now. You were like, basically, hey man, I feel like he's gonna retire, and I just thought with him dumping Giselle, it makes no sense for him to retire now. You feel me? Like at the end of the day, the guy can still sling it. The spin on the ball is still there. The accuracy is still there. Obviously, everything around him deteriorated. And I hold it against Todd Bowles for putting Tom Brady in such a bad situation, but that's neither here nor there. But I legitimately thought Tom Brady still had another year. I thought he was going to end up either in San Francisco or in Las Vegas, and he's going to give us one more hurrah. And it seems like as the week went on since the season ended, it became clear that Tom Brady wanted to stay in Florida. It was going to be Tampa Bay or bust. Or when Miami came out and said that towards our guy, that basically took Miami off the board as well. So I think at this point in his career, in his life, he really wants to be around his family, around his kids. He's already lost everything else besides his kids, so he's doing his best to basically, I guess, mend fences with them and be there for them. And I guess this is the perfect time for him to retire, even though I think he could still sling it.
Yeah, well, I mean, put it on the board. Him and Giselle will be back together within the
You really
next eight
believe that,
months.
huh? You really believe that?
Dude, he's very conscious of the narrative around him and his brand and everything, right? And all that's ever come out since Giselle dumped him was, oh man, Tom chose football, like F them kids. And I think that really resonated with him for being, as much of a family man as it's reported that he is. So I don't think it's definitely a bridge too far. I mean, think of it this way, Jay. Like only three people have beaten Tom Brady: Eli Manning, all right, Nick Foles, and Giselle Bundchen. And at least with Giselle,
Nice.
he may or may not have a say in things. But I think the personal life was just bleeding too much into his professional life when it comes to the football field. And I mean, Jay, he wasn't focused even before the reports came out this year of of actually playing football. I mean, he retired for 40 days, and he decided to come back, and we all thought he was going to go to another Super Bowl because he got the whole band back together. But I felt like the writing was potentially on the wall when he wasn't at training camp, and that seemed to be. And it wasn't like he wasn't at training camp; it was he wasn't at training camp. He did like a family vacation, and everyone tried to sweep that under the rug, saying, "Oh, well, this was already predetermined. Like we already agreed to this type of deal." I think that was kind of like a last salvo of him trying to salvage his marriage at that point. And clearly the wheels fell off the bus, and the rest is history. But I think he is more so doing this because he's trying to get back in the family's good graces.
Mhm.
Um, Personally, I thought it was Vegas or bust, in my opinion, just because I did not have the Dolphins on the bingo card for them being a destination for Tom Brady, especially given the optics of you're less than a year removed from the tampering scandal per se that cost you, first round draft pick and millions of dollars worth of fines, and your minority owner not really being able to have any say in the day-to-day operations of the Miami Dolphins anymore. So I did not see that on the bingo card. I thought it was Vegas or bust the whole time. I will say this though, like I know it came out a couple of days ago that he was taking a year off and then he was going to jump into the Fox deal.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the language is. I kind of would be a little bit more surprised if we see him in a TV booth. I think
Mhm.
he's ultimately going to get a minority ownership stake in the Miami Dolphins just
Yeah.
because of Stephen Ross. Was probably the biggest booster at the University of Michigan, Tom's alma mater. He's very chummy with Stephen Ross and his family. And quite frankly, like I'm not saying this as a hater. Like I genuinely like the pairing of Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson
Yep.
and as the A team.
Yep.
And I don't really.
They
I
should make
think
a
a lot
three.
of.
They should make a three-man booth if somehow Tom Brady does go to Fox next year. They should
Mhm.
keep Burkhardt and the lead guy there, and then just pair them into a three-man booth.
Right. I think it's gonna have to be that because I think they just extended Olsen if I recall correctly,
Yep.
and it would suck to demote him to the B or C team and then say, oh, by the way, you're getting a pay cut. when we're just going to throw Tom in the booth. Like maybe it'll work like they did with Tony Romo and CBS that first year. Or it could be Jason Witten. I'm hedging my bet that it's going to be like Tony Romo when he first got in, but I'm going to be a little bit more surprised if I see him in a commentary booth.
Do you think this is the final last time we've seen Tom Brady throw football? And the reason why I say that is he was asked about this question a couple different times. One by Colin Cowherd yesterday, and then the second time by Jim Gray on the Let's Go pod. And they were definitive yeses. Like they weren't like definitive yeses. And then on top of that, why does he need a whole year off before he goes to a broadcasting booth? Like how, like you're gonna be bored. Like you'll have 6 months off, the season will roll around, and you're gonna have another whole year off before you get to work again. So like I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I think we've definitively I think we've seen the end of Tom Brady on a football field. But for some reason, like I'm not like 100% sure about that. Like I feel like there's still a small percent chance that he could wander back onto the football field.
Yeah, he'll wander back onto the football field when he's coming down from the owner's box to throw a slant route to his kid in the end zone. It is done. It's like I saw that clip of Cowherd.
Finito.
Put it in the words of Dan Snyder. Put it in all caps. It's over. Like it's I don't think
over.
I don't think he's coming back. And honestly, Jay, like, what's the landscape going to look like in a year? Like, okay, let's assume that Tua's going to get franchise tag because they're probably not going to pick up the 5th-year option. So there's another Florida team off the table again. The Buccaneers, like, are they even going to have enough salary cap really to have that band back together? Like, probably not. And I haven't even talked about the coaching situation. Like, and in Vegas, are they going to draft CJ Stroud or Will Levis or something else? Like at that point, what chair is open for the quarterback position in the next 2 years? Oh, okay. Yeah, he's gonna come. He's gonna do a homecoming. He couldn't even thank them again in the video goodbye, and now he's gonna walk it. He's gonna ride into Foxborough like Paul Revere or Sam Adams. He's just gonna come in and wave that tri-point hat. Daddy's stop it. Stop.
I'm getting too excited over all that.
My God. Yeah, he'll do that when they hang his jersey up at Patriot Place.
Here's a dream scenario, okay? Mac Jones inevitably is going to fall on his face this year. This is his make or break a year.
Can't wait.
Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have somewhat gone chummy over the last couple of weeks. We saw Bill Belichick go on Tom Brady's podcast and then basically give him a 5-minute soliloquy about how great he was, which, by the way, when I woke up this morning and I saw that, I thought like hell froze over that Bill Belichick went on Tom Brady's podcast. So I'm saying the feelings are getting better between those two. So
the feelings always get better with Bill Belichick and former players when the player is not on that roster anymore.
So
the key phrase is former.
Can you let me live out my fantasy here, please? Just for like 1 second.
Yeah, go get the Kleenex by the bed too.
So basically, he takes a year off. He goes overseas. He gets that platelet, like whatever enriched blood they do, and they spin it back into your body that Kobe Bryant did for his knee. He'll go over to Germany, get that stuff done. He'll take some HGH this year. He'll sit it out. Mac Jones will fall on his face. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, one last hurrah, 2024. That's the way you go out. Could you imagine that story, the way that would end? Oh, yes, that'd be perfect.